Welcome back to the King's Corner, the place for all things Bethesda. I am the KingFanMan with a Elder Scrolls 6 update. Yes, you heard me right, the Elder Scrolls 6. It is so good to be talking about the Elder Scrolls 6, and I've got some juicy information. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the Elder Scrolls, and this series has such a special place in fans' hearts. But it's been since 2011 since we've got to set foot into a single-player Elder Scrolls game. That is why we are so excited to hear anything about the future of this series. Now, we did find out at PAX East that Miss Shirley Curry was picked to be an NPC in the upcoming Elder Scrolls 6 game. What a great honor, and I cannot wait to interact with her character in the upcoming game. We also found out that they were using new technology for those characters. Not only the characters, but also landscapes. A technology that uses photorealism.
Building the technology now that is going to fuel our future games.
We're using photogrammetry to scan in all these real-world assets and push our future tech for games to levels we have not done before.
Now, what this also confirms, and I really thought more people would get excited about this, is that production, to some extent, has begun on the Elder Scrolls 6. It is more than pre-production. They are working on the Elder Scrolls 6, which is super exciting. There was a very small interview at PAX East that really went under the radar. It was with the unofficial Elder Scrolls page. It was a fans page. In fact, it was two young ladies that sat down with Todd Howard and asked a few questions about the Elder Scrolls. But there were a couple of answers that Todd gave that were very interesting in regards to the Elder Scrolls 6. And to this point, I haven't heard anyone reporting on this interview. Now, most of the questions were very innocent about Todd's workday, about his career history, about fan theories, about the Elder Scrolls. I will leave a link to the written transcript of this interview in the description below. But the interesting part of the interview comes when they talked about the Skyrim development document. It was a notebook page that is handwritten by Todd Howard for the development of Skyrim. He wrote this before Skyrim was developed. In fact, he said it was written in 2007, right after the very last DLC for Oblivion was made. And it was a list of what he wanted to put in the next Elder Scrolls game. And the very interesting thing is that everything from that notebook page made it into the game except for the very last thing, which is number 7. And that is the thing that he really wanted in the Skyrim, and he says in this interview that he really wants it in future Elder Scrolls games. Well, what was it that didn't make it into Skyrim that he wanted? It was the workshop mode that eventually made it into Fallout 4. But there's more. But let Todd talk first. He says the only thing we didn't get is the bottom one, which was the Stronghold idea. We are always interested in how do we get people creating things they can share. So that's what the modding and stuff we love. We didn't get into it enough in the panel, but the modding community for us has been incredible, and we wanted with Skyrim, and it eventually became the workshop stuff in Fallout, that people could have a stronghold they built, and then they could share that with other players without having to download the creation kit and upload it to a mod database to make that easier. And it is still something we're very interested in the future. How do we enable people to do those things? Wow, I don't know if you caught it, but he just gave a lot of information. First, of course, he said he wanted the workshop mode in Skyrim that wound up in Fallout 4. And he wants that in future Elder Scrolls games. So that does confirm that the workshop mode is probably going to be in the Elder Scrolls 6. And we probably knew that that was a good possibility, but it is a confirmation. But that's not all that he said. I want to go back and read his words after he talked about the workshop being in future Elder Scrolls games. Todd said that people could have a stronghold they built, and then they could share that with other players without having to download the creation kit and upload it to a mod database to make that easier. So he is talking about us being able to build our own castle, our own stronghold, our own base, then being able to save that and upload it so that other players can take that and download it into their game if they want it. So we can essentially make our own mods in the game. How incredible. That's an awesome idea, using the workshop mode as a mod builder. What an interesting and wonderful idea. And that was his idea all the way back in Skyrim. And now it looks like it's actually going to come to fruition in the Elder Scrolls 6 because he's talking about it right now. That's what he said this last month at PAX East. Now, he's not done talking about it. He actually brings it up himself one more time. He's asked another question just a little bit later. What is your favorite concept that didn't transfer over into gameplay? And he says concept meaning like concept art, and they say no, like mechanics. And he says that Stronghold idea that I just mentioned. It's big. How do we get people, and then he says it, sharing their creations easier in the game? Making it their own, and then, he says it again, sharing it, something they've done. Whether it could be, we've talked about it, and then he says it again, sharing it. So Todd is very, very serious about us being able to make our own and then sharing it with each other. This is a concept to Todd Howard that he really, really wanted in Skyrim. He evidently really, really wanted it in Fallout 4 because he says it is the one game mechanic. It's the one concept that he really regrets not being able to implement. And it's what he wants for the future. So I believe you can watch for this to be in the Elder Scrolls 6. What a huge piece of information from this little interview. Now he gives one more little gem before he quits. Notice what he says. He says, we've also talked about sharing my character, that my character could become a companion in your game. Now he's not talking about multiplayer at all, okay? So get that out of your head. He's talking about a single player game. But he's talking about you building your character the way that you want it, and then uploading that character to the database, and then me being able to download your character and have your character as a companion in my game. But he says, that's a great idea, but we haven't quite crossed that threshold yet. But that might be a future game mechanic in a Bethesda game. Maybe even the Elder Scrolls 6. But see, you can see the future thinking there of Bethesda. What a great peek into the future of some of the things they are looking at. Wow, that's some great information. Now, I want to hear what you think about these concepts, about the sharing of our workshop, about the building mechanics being in the Elder Scrolls 6, being able to share your bases and share your characters. I also want to hear about what you would like to see in the Elder Scrolls 6. I want my comments filled with ideas. You tell me what you think about Todd's ideas, and then tell me what your ideas are for the Elder Scrolls 6. We got a lot of time to talk about it, but please fill up my comments because I want to talk the Elder Scrolls 6. Thanks guys for listening. Thanks for watching. I am the KingFanMan. I'll see you guys very soon in Tamriel.